It's Thursday. It's crossover Thursday. Tyler Rowland, the madman. We're talking Titans. We want them colors back, but y'all done kind of stunk them up a little bit, so y'all keep them. We got all of that and more on today's episode of the Locked On Texans and Titans podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome in, Locked On Texans and Titan listeners. I am Texans credential media member and Texans football analyst John, some sports guy Hickman. On the other side of the screen, the madman, Locked On Titans host Tyler Rowland, one of my favorite people in our network. Thank you guys for watching today's show. Thank you for being every dayers of the show, whether you are Locked On Texans or Locked On Titans. Hopefully we get some good fighting going on in the comments. We need that, Tyler. We need that. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks on a Thursday. Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Download the app and use code Locked On NFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Today we're going to be getting into the Texans' biggest storylines, the Titans' biggest storylines as well. But we're also going to have some fun as we close off today's show, getting into the keys to victory and maybe some score predictions. Tyler, it's been a rough year. The Mayo man ain't been working out. There's been Rudolph, the red-nosed QB. He's taking some snaps for the Tennessee Titans. And it seems like all of the offseason moves and additions this team made, to Calvin Ridley, to Tony Pollard on the defensive side. I forget his name off the top of my head, but the cornerback.
L'Jarius Sneed.
Sneed. It seems like all of those great moves have just gone to waste. And so what's been the biggest storyline for you guys so far?
Well, I'll kind of go, backwards in terms of like the talking points. Like, you could say that it all went to waste. They're 2-8. Like, you make those moves to try to win, no doubt about it. But Calvin Ridley has been awesome, and he's one of the top separators in the NFL. He's had a lot of, bad passes come his way when he's wide open, or the quarterback just not see him when he's wide open. He had a 52-yard touchdown taken off the board and look, Texans fans are going to, laugh at it, but the Titans literally got screwed by this one side judge referee on the game. He called, 3 illegal formation penalties, waited until the ball was in the air to throw the flag. He was smirking on the sideline after throwing flags. Ramon Foster, the old Steelers offensive lineman, was talking about it on his radio show. They definitely got screwed in that Vikings game. Ridley should have had another 50 yards and a touchdown. But Tony Pollard has been the MVP of the team. He's been incredible all year long. Now, Sneed, that one has gone awry. But, Lloyd Cushenberry got hurt, but he was playing good football. And, there's a lot of moves that the Titans made. Their first 2 draft picks, J.C. Latham, Tavondre Sweat, both playing good football. The reality is here, there are just a couple of problems with the Titans that haven't gotten fixed. Yeah, go ahead.
I really do love your apology video to Big Sweat, because my boy shut you up a little bit, man. My boy out of UT, I'm a UT fan, but he's been playing some good football. He deserves his credit.
I mean, shoot, man, I talk about 200 different draft prospects and give my opinion on 200 draft prospects every year. I'm going to be wrong. And I was wrong about Sweat, and I wanted to be wrong because it helps the Titans. But the problem with the Titans is their right tackle position is a disgrace. It is a disgrace. If you take all of the different players who have played the Titans literally rotate right tackles in the middle of the game, bro. In the middle of the game, they rotate them because they're all so bad. They've had 4 or 5 different starters at right tackle. They just keep trying different guys because they're all terrible. They're all terrible. And if you look at the combination of all of the different right tackles that the Titans have used and add up their sacks allowed and pressures allowed, it's the worst right tackle job in the entire NFL. So that has destroyed them in a lot of games. And then the quarterback play hasn't been great. It hasn't been good enough. Mason Rudolph is a solid backup, but he's a backup. You know what I mean? He's not going to win you games consistently. And Will Levis was just awful at the beginning of the year. Terrible. Now, with that being said, Will Levis has played his 2 best games, maybe of his career, in back-to-back weeks. And you could look and say, the Titans lost by 10 to the Chargers. The Titans lost by 10 to the Vikings. He ain't playing that well, and I get that. But he has played his best football in terms of processing, accuracy, getting the ball out of his hands, especially against Minnesota. And the Chargers and the Vikings are two of the top 5 defenses in the entire NFL. Now, the Texans are also a fantastic defense too, so can he keep it going? That's kind of the theme. Like, is what Will Levis did the last 2 weeks, is that real or is that a mirage? Because if what he did the last 2 weeks is real and he can keep doing that throughout the rest of the season, then there's a little bit more hope. I would rather roll with him in 2025 than draft Sanders or get Sam Darnold in free agency or Daniel Jones or any of these bridge quarterbacks. Like, screw all that. I don't want to do that. So whether Will Levis can legitimately be the quarterback next year, even if it means they're still looking for a real long-term quarterback the year after, I think we'll know that answer based on this week and the coming weeks. But he has played his best football in the last 2 weeks. That is true.
You know, I think the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts kind of sit in the same boat a little bit. You knew what your quarterback was when you got him. And so both quarterbacks were poor this year, bad play. Both were able to get their starting jobs back. And to your point, Anthony Richardson had, I think, his best game of the year this past Sunday. Will Levis, he had a good game. And so some of these quarterbacks, I think, just need time, and the unrealistic expectations of immediately being able to come in and save a team has really hurt, I think, the NFL product altogether. Now, as bad as the offense has been, or as inconsistent as it's been defensively, that's something the Houston Texans, I think, we need to worry about. And this is a team that, despite kind of getting the ball rolling a little bit against the Dallas Cowboys, one of the worst defenses in the NFL, still only had one offensive touchdown this past Monday night in the second half. That's been a problem. We are going up against, here in Houston, a Tennessee Titans team that's been stifling, to say the least, right? So, like, what should we be scared about?
The defense is great. Like, they're a really good defense, and that's without having their 2 starting cornerbacks on the outside for the majority of the season. They've been playing Darrell Baker Jr., a cast-off from the Colts. And if you get cut from the Colts secondary, ooh, boy. But Darrell Baker has been a top 12 cornerback in the NFL per Pro Football Focus, if you care about their grades. I mean, he has been really solid for the Titans. And Jarvis Brownlee Jr., a dog cornerback out of Louisville that's a rookie. He gets penalties because he plays physical and in your face and stuff like that. But, man, he's played well. And, they're the number 1 pass defense in the NFL, or they were coming into last week. But up front is really where it begins. Tavondre Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons on the interior. They do not let teams run the ball. And that's like the big thing I'm watching for with what Mixon has been doing this year. Got to give credit. Got to take my L on that. I did not think that Mixon would make the impact that he has. But, boy, he has been incredible this season for the Texans. But the Titans have been a pretty good run defense. So I'm curious to see how the defense can handle Joe Mixon and the rushing attack of the Texans. That's really where I would look.
So I guess my question is, can CJ Stroud get it really going against the Tennessee Titans?
Well, I'm not gonna say that he can't. I mean, with Nico Collins back, it kind of changes the dynamic. So I think that if they can get the interior blocked, which I know Houston has had some struggles with the offensive line, especially the interior offensive line, if they can get that blocked up and not let Jeffrey Simmons wreck the game, then they'll find a way to pick apart the secondary to a degree. You know what I mean? I don't think it'll be 500 yards or anything like that, but Stroud will have his day, because if you just have playmakers at wide receiver, you have a chance to beat some of the less talented players in the secondary for the Titans, who have 4 out of 5 positions, or 3 out of 5 positions in the secondary are backups now. So, I mean, that makes it tough.
Let's talk Texan storyline when we come back. We can do that. Let's get it. Listen up, renters. Ever feel like you're stuck in this loop of rent payments, just watching your money vanish into thin air? It's time to turn that rent game around and start earning some serious rewards. That's where Built Rewards come in. Real talk right now. In this economy, we all need a break. And so Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent every month. Pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. Use points to jet off on a dream vacation. Maybe you want to go to Nashville. Maybe you want to go see the Tennessee Titans play live. Maybe you want to fly out here to Houston and see the Houston Texans play. You can do all of that when you put your points towards a flight or a hotel stay with 500 or more airlines and over 700,000 hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them towards a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnfl. That's joinbuilt, BILT.com/lockedonnfl. Make sure you use our URL so they know we sent you. Again, that's joinbuilt.com/lockedonnfl to start earning points with your rent payments today. And Tennessee Titans and Texans fans, listen, right now the over-under on Sunday's matchup is 41.5 points for the Houston Texans. That is -115, and for the Tennessee Titans, that's -105. Visit FanDuel and make Sunday's matchup a little bit more exciting when you view all of the odds they have to offer. The point spread right now for the Tennessee Titans is plus 8.5 at -110. So listen, you can possibly make you some extra bucks while you're crying when this team loses Sunday, right? I got to make it a little bit interesting and exciting. So visit FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Also, new customers can get $5. If you bet $5, you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page you place your bets. Join FanDuel.com today by visiting FanDuel.com. And again, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back
Hey,
in.
we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it at the end, but I don't think it's good advice to tell people to take the Texans -8.5. We'll get to it later. I know it's Texans time, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, listen, right now we've been in a lot of one-score games. Only 3 games this year, Minnesota, that the Texans lost. New England, they won. And Dallas, they won. Been a lot of close games. So that could be a trap. That could be a trap, but
I agree
Texas
with you.
storylines right now, man. What you got? What kind of questions you got for me?
Well, the question is, why would it be a trap? So working for Locked On NFL, I watch a lot of the other shows on the network all the time. And a lot of time I'm pulling Texan stuff, especially early in the season. And it seemed like you and Big Sarge were maybe not necessarily happy with the offense, the penalties, the O-line. You tell me, where is this Texans team vulnerable? Because they have not played their best football. They haven't built off last year's playoff run in the way that it seems like a lot of people in Houston expected.
No, they haven't, honestly. And I think the vulnerability from this team right now, it comes first from the sidelines, and that's offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. I think that
been a disappointment this year, huh? He was my guy too.
It was a big disappointment, and I think that with the expectations of this offense, he shrunk a little bit. And also, there was a point to be made to involve Stephon Diggs a lot into this offense. Not that he's a diva and causing issues in the locker room, but when you get a player like Stephon Diggs, when you get a Diggs on your team, you gotta, and they love him in the locker room, honestly, but you gotta involve him into the game plan. And I think that has taken away from players like a Tank Dell and a John Mechie, which a lot of people had a lot of expectations for, and tight end Dalton Schultz. So the first issue that has really hindered this offense and this team overall, because defensively, they do everything that they need to do. I mean, this team has been in majority of their games are one-score games, win or lose. So, and then that has led to the offensive line just being exploited, right? And for the most part of the year, I mean, Kenyon Green has been a complete disappointment.
Yeah.
for this
And now
franchise.
he's out for the season too, right?
And now he's out. I don't think he's going to ever take another snap as a Houston Texan. I think for him, he needs to continue his career somewhere else away from home. But they kind of go hand in hand. Those issues with the offensive line were so apparent, but yet the play calling for a large part of the year called for long developed route plays. And so when you look at not being able to routinely give your quarterback time in the pocket, you typically you want to kind of say, let's get the ball out quicker. Let's kind of offset the pressure the defense is going to bring. But that hasn't been the point. So at one point during the year, I said, listen, Bobby Slowick is stubborn and he's tripping over his own feet because there's no way you see the offensive line product from all five guys. There hasn't been not really one flawless game outside of the Dallas Cowboy game where you can say, let's build on this. Dallas in the first Indianapolis Colts game, but he has not necessarily offset pressure for the large part of the year. So that's been an issue. The offensive line just kind of getting punched in the mouth if they're not responding through 11 weeks. That's been an issue. And then the injuries. When you lose your security blanket, like Nico Collins, who he was out for 5 weeks, and I think he's still number 7 in the NFL in receiving yards, right? So
he was going crazy until he got hurt, man.
Going insane. And so when you lose a player like that for a quarterback that wants those deep shots, like let's not get it confused. The NFL, we know about all of the too high safeties that they've been playing this year. But Nico has been the too high safety killer. He's been the one high safety killer. He's been, no matter what safety you put back there, 2, 3, 4, 5. It don't matter, of course, there are 5 safeties, but he's killing that because of his length as a receiver, how he can high point the ball, and he's just getting open. So he's been gone for 5 weeks, all the way back up into the Dallas Cowboy game, and they struggle. 2 and 3 without Nico. That was an issue. And I think that's been, for the most part, the biggest storyline of the year, just the inconsistencies of the offense and the offense not complementing the defense like we expected them to do.
Well, I think you're 100% right there, and the data would back you up. If you look at like the Texans' EPA per play on early downs, first and second downs, it's nowhere near as good as their third down performance. They're big game hunters is what I have always said this year. Like the Texans are okay if they don't get any yards on first and second down. They'll probably hit a 25-yarder on 3rd and 10. That's just the way that it works because they have Nico and they have Stroud and they can create that connection. So that's one thing that I'm worried about for the Titans. They haven't given up a ton of explosive pass plays, but they have given up quite a bit of 3rd and longs. And that's one thing that I'm worried about. On the defensive side, I know the Texans defense has been great. The pass rush is great. Is Will Anderson going to be back for this game?
I don't think so.
Whew.
I don't think so. I think, well, don't wipe your sweat just yet.
Well, if I know anything about being a Titans fan, it's he'll be back.
Go figure, right? We haven't got any indication yet. And then I'll say this about the Texans franchise, and a lot of people have criticized D'Amico Ryans for this. I mean, they take their time with getting their players back out on the field.
Well, he's
Nico Collins could have played. I mean, he's a former player just recently removed. Nico could have played against Detroit, and you look at Nico being a major factor for that offense that has struggled in the second half all year, specifically the last 5 weeks. But he would have been a major addition for that offense against Detroit, but he didn't play. Played against Dallas and was on a snap count, right? So, like, they take their time with bringing their players back. Kamara Lassiter has been a part of that group of players coming back. Still no Christian Harris. They will take their time. I don't think he's going to play against the Tennessee Titans, but y'all got Danielle Hunter to worry about, who, as of late, he's been causing all kind of hell. Danico Autry, former Tennessee Titan. Thank you guys for him because he's been a godsend.
Cook on the interior.
He's going to cook inside and outside. You worry about your right tackle, but also you got to keep your eye on Tim Settle Jr., who, for this Texans defense, and I think this defense has been extremely phenomenal. You always look for those role players, right? You're a big basketball guy. You love the LA Lakers. And traditionally through that franchise history, they got role players that you can say, man, he stepped up in this point, right? Derek Fisher, Robert Ory, Trevor Ariza, Ron Artest. I keep naming
Michael Green.
For this Texans defense this year, Tim Settle has been a godsend, a dominant in the rough, 5 sacks on the year, and he continues to just, excuse my language, whoop on some offensive line ass. So, like,
Yeah.
he does it, and he allows linebackers to flow in and out of gaps. He makes their job easier. And then, again, Danielle Hunter has just been kicking ass, too.
Well, two things. One, I just combined AC Green and Michael Cooper together, so I don't know how that happened to me, but
Super
I guess
player.
when I'm referencing players who played before I was even born, you can have that happen. The final thing that I want to ask you about the Texans, though, is there a vulnerability in the Texans defense? Is there a weakness?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So they don't travel their best defensive player, especially in the secondary, with
Mhm.
teams' best offensive weapon on the outside.
So you can get Calvin Ridley away from Derek Stingley Jr.
You
is what you're
can
saying.
get Calvin really away from Derek Stingley. He's not
Right.
traveling. And that's been a big criticism of the year. If we look at anything that D'Amico Ryans has done this year that has jeopardized this team defensively, it has been lining up a Jalen Petrie, who has been a phenomenal player for this team this year, on one of the better receivers in the NFL on crucial downs, like the Devontae Adams touchdown a couple of weeks back. Jalen Petrie was holding him. He's not a coverage slot corner. It has been Amon-Ra St. Brown lined up on the Azeez Al-Shire on a crucial down that the Texans need to stop on, right? When you have Derek Stingley. So that's been the chink in the armor. And also, we finally got to look at Jeff Okudah this past Monday. And
Kavontae Turpin put that
and I'm
on a
talking,
boy.
you burnt them, smoked them. So, like, with no Kamari Lassiter, who has been amazing as a rookie between Lassiter and Bullock, with no Lassiter potentially because he's in concussion protocol, Houston will be vulnerable once you get past Derek Stingley's name on that cornerback depth chart.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that'll be interesting to see. I guess that means it's time for keys to victory then.
Let's do it. But first, Locked On listeners, this is the perfect time to let you guys know that today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Take a moment to say thank you to someone in your life that you like to give some thanks to. So right now, I want to say thank you, Tyler Rowland, for Danico Autry and Azeez Al-Shire. Those two players have been amazing for the Houston Texans this year. But honestly, guys, this month is all about gratitude. And along with the person I just shouted out, my man Tyler, there's also another person that we don't get a chance to thank ourselves enough for, and that is ourselves. Sometimes it's hard to remind ourselves that we are trying to do the best that we can and make sense of everything. And in this crazy world, it is not easy. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people in your life, including yourself. And if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suitable to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Download the app and use code LOCKEDON NFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Tyler, keys to victory for the Tennessee Titans looks like what?
Well, number one, you got to stop the run. I think that if you let Joe Mixon run the football all over you, like happened against the Cowboys, you're cooked. There's no way. The only chance you have is to get the Texans in the 3rd and long. And even then, because they've been so good with explosive plays, it's going to be difficult to get stops. I just think the Titans are going to struggle. But you get them into 3rd and long, and then the Titans pass rush can do some things. So number one, the Titans have to stop the run, have to get Joe Mixon cold. Don't let him get hot. I think on the offensive side of the ball, the Titans have to use play action to attack the secondary. I think the only hope, the Titans aren't going to have 10, 12 play drives on the Texans. They need explosives. The Titans hit 8 explosive plays last week against the Vikings, and it should have been 10 if these plays weren't called back by a petty referee. And I know Texans fans are rolling their eyes at me, but trust me, even Vikings fans were saying the Titans got screwed in this one. Like, it was crazy. But anyways, the two big things: stop the run when you're on defense, set up 3rd and long for the Texans, create explosive passing plays through play action against this Texans secondary, where you talked about the cornerback position. Look, I really like Jalen Petrie. I like the Texans defense overall. It's a good defense. But if you had to choose a place to attack it, it's the secondary. That's where I'm attacking. Not the linebackers, not the defensive line. That's not who I want to take advantage of. It's going to be difficult no matter who you go after. But I want to attack downfield against this Texans secondary and see if they can cover, especially if you can get Calvin Ridley off of Derek Stingley Jr., which would be fantastic. And I'm sure Brian Callahan is in the lab right now thinking of ways to do exactly that. So stop the run on defense, heavy play action on offense to create plays down the field, and then you can't lose the turnover battle. If the Titans lose the turnover battle on the road against a better football team, they are screwed. So that's the number one thing. If you're gonna have an upset, you got to win the turnover battle. It's the ultimate equalizer in the NFL.
And that's exactly where I wanted to start. For the Houston Texans, they got to create turnovers, and that's something that they've been able to do. 6 interceptions in the last 2 weeks. And if we look at the drop interceptions, could potentially be up to 10 in the last 2 weeks. And I think that
they dropped a bunch of them against the Cowboys. I felt
like
every
time
I turn around.
Derek Stingley alone, I think he dropped 3, caught 1, dropped 3. Kalen Bullock dropped 1. And so creating those turnovers will help with the field position battle, and that'll give Houston a short field to work with. And I think that this is a quarterback in Will Levis that will give you the opportunities to do so. You just got to take advantage. But I also will say that another key to victory, dominating up front. The offensive line were able to have a very good and balanced game against Dallas. 2 different defensive lines. Dallas D-line is a little bit light in the butt compared to Jeffrey Simmons and Big Sweat. So those are some monster of men that you're going to have to worry about and block. And so it's going to be a collective goal. You got to include the tight ends, because I think that if you dominate up front, you give Joe Mixon the running lanes that he absolutely will need. And Joe Mixon only needs a little small room of light to maybe cut back and pick up extra yards. Then that's going to lead me to key to victory number 3. And that's what you said, play action passes. TJ was phenomenal, hit over 90% of his play action passes against the Dallas Cowboys. And if Joe Mixon is running well, that defense is going to be forced to kind of step up a little bit. And then that's where you'll see guys like a Dalton Schultz leak out, a Cade Stover leak out. The tight end group against Dallas did a very good job. I think 8 targets, caught 6 of them. Those guys, their roles are small, but they're big, because that can allow this team to sustain drives. And also, of course, Tank Dell and John Mechie and the big name Nico Collins, because they will want those shots down the field. And then additionally, Bobby, build off what you just did, man. I thought Bobby called the best game of his season against Dallas. And again, 2 totally different defenses, but you gotta, for Bobby, you gotta understand the personnel that you're going up against and know when to make those adjustments. And I thought that he did a very good job of that for the most part through 4 quarters. So those are all the key to victories. And I think my score prediction for this game is going to be another tight one. And Tennessee and Houston always plays each other close. I'm looking at a 23-20 type of game for the Houston Texans.
You know what's crazy, man? That is exactly what I am thinking as well. That literally, I make my little graphics every week that I use on the show, what my score prediction is. And right now I do have Texans 23, Titans 20. I like the Titans plus the 8.5. I think this is close. The Titans are a better team than 2-8. Not much better. But I think they're a little bit better than 2-8. Levis really screwed them early in the year with some of his turnovers. I think you made a great point about the tight ends and the running backs too, because The Titans are very susceptible over the middle of the field. Kenneth Murray is a disaster in coverage.
You do not like Kenneth Murray, man. I see him on your timeline every week.
Yeah, I hated that signing. And he makes these plays where he comes downhill and he hits a running back hard, or he'll blitz because he's a good blitzing linebacker and he'll get pressure on a quarterback. And Titans fans will be like, who only watch the game for 3 hours on Sunday and never watch the film. They're like, he's good. See, look, he's got tackles. Look at that play made. But when you watch the film and you see him get taken advantage of, like if I'm the Texans and I'm a Texans fan and I play fantasy football or I gamble, Tank Dell. Huge props on Tank Dell.
Is this going to be a Tank Dell week?
Because he's going to be over the middle with that speed, and the Titans linebackers and their backup safety, aside from and even Amani Hooker isn't the fastest safety in the league as he gets older. So I really think the Texans can hit that play action over the middle of the field, take advantage of the middle of the field zone defense of the Titans. And the Titans run a lot of cover 4 and cover 4 man, where the outside cornerbacks have deep vertical responsibilities, and it really opens up the flats. You can hit little passes out into the flats to the running backs and to the tight ends and have them turn up field and get big yardage. So I think the tight ends and the running backs will be huge for the Texans, not only helping with the blocking against the Titans defensive line, but then taking advantage of the Titans deficiencies in defense. But I think 23-20 is very solid. Now, I will tell you this.
What you got?
I kind of smell a Titans upset in this one. I can't, because the Texans just came off a really easy game. They came off a really easy game where they blew out the Cowboys. They're feeling good. They're feeling great. It's a division game, like you said, so it's always going to be a little bit closer. The Titans are playing better football than they played earlier in the season, and just sometimes these things happen. And I'll just say this. I think the Texans are a good team. I think they win the division. I think they win a playoff game. I do. But the Texans have not played their best football, and they are primed for a trap game loss. Like, they need a loss
I think
to shake
Houston
them out of kind
trap
of
game loss. The Jets was a trap game loss, and I think that this is a desperate team.
It was,
but that was a 2-16. What was it? Lost 4 games straight or something along those lines. Aaron Rodgers just looking god awful. Then we saw what he did in the second half. Right. The Texans are a desperate team because they know they have the easiest part of their schedule right now. Dallas, Tennessee, Jacksonville. Right after that, you got Miami, you got Baltimore, you got Kansas City. Those last 2 teams are the cream of the crop. You don't get a chance to play the Pittsburgh Steelers.
They may be looking ahead, John. They may be classic look ahead.
But I say that to say they know and understand if we're gonna have a shot against those guys, we got to get the ball rolling right now. Monday night was a good stepping stone. Yeah. They will have a tough game against you guys, and I'm honestly hoping for a fight on the field. I just like good, nasty football.
It always something Dallas. Like that when the Titans and Texans play, man.
So I need that excitement and entertainment. But I think that this will be a game where they still settle in offensively to where we're not going to see CJ leave a game without a touchdown. I think he's going to throw his touchdown this week against Tennessee. And I think this will be the game where they just build off of what they were able to accomplish against the Dallas Cowboys, because there are some things that worked. You look at Laremy Tunsil, if he's not upfield engaging, the first play of the game for Houston was a 70-plus yard TD to Nico Collins.
And I needed that. I had some Nico Collins money, man. I needed that. I'm salty about it. I'm not happy with Laremy Tunsil, man. I'm not.
Yeah, the Texan fans and Andre Ware have not been happy with Laremy Tunsil, but like they're gonna figure it out. And I think this is just one of those games where Tennessee is gonna punch them in the mouth. Texans are gonna punch back. But they're going to figure it out, and they're going to score some points, and they're going to win this game.
I could see the Titans scoring early. Like, it could be like 13-10 Titans at halftime, and then the Texans end up winning 23-20. You know what I mean? Like, something like that. The Texans are the better team, and the longer you play a football game, the more talent wins. It's a classic thing in all team sports. The longer it goes, that's why you don't want to go into overtime if you're an underdog and stuff like that, because the better team is eventually just going to win with the talent. But I do think it'll be a close game. That's why I like the Titans plus the 8.5, even if the Texans end up winning.
Now make sure you guys continue to watch Locked On Texans and Locked On Titans throughout the week. I know my man Tyler Rowland does a lot of good film breakdown to make sure that you continue to tap in with us every day as we continue to cover your team here on the Locked On Network. Family, I'm John, some sports guy Hickman. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. Tyler, where can they find you at?
Tic Tac Titans on YouTube, on Twitter. I'm everywhere. Always. Maybe a little too much, but I'm out here.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.